Hi, and welcome to our first week of History of Asia. I'm Dr. Morgan. You can call me Matt. And today we're just going to go over some of the basics of what we're focused on in this course, particularly Monsoon Asia, while we're studying so-called Monsoon Asia. But first, I would like to just get into some of the basics of the course. So with this course, what you'll do is once a week, you'll watch a lecture video or videos like this one, and you will write one discussion board post about something you like in the video, something you found interesting. You just have to do one paragraph once per week with that. You will also have a weekly reading quiz of 5 questions taken from that week's reading. Those are the only 2 assignments that are due week after week after week, every week. You'll also have 2 film reviews, which are due first at the halfway point and then the second at the end of the course, where you'll watch a historical film and write a brief review of it. And finally, we'll have 3 exams. There'll be multiple choice with 1 essay question, and the final will be cumulative, and there'll be study guides for all 3. So that's pretty much the sum of the course. Very simple, very easy to keep track of. And I'm going to put a checklist for each week out as an announcement in the announcement section on Canvas, so that you can see what you've done and what you have left to do. Okay. If you have any questions at all, you can text me, 314-369-0776, anytime. I generally reply to texts immediately. You can also email me at the email address given on the syllabus, and that's also perfectly acceptable, though I prefer text because I can answer immediately. And I'm available for you anytime. If you need to set up some kind of meeting, which I generally think pretty much anything can be handled by text or email, but if you do need me, I'm available to schedule something with you pretty much anytime. Okay, so let's dive into the material. The basics of the Asian continent are kind of staggering. It's the largest of the 7 continents, both by land area and by population. 4.5 billion people live on the Asian continent out of 7.8 billion people worldwide. So we're looking at a solid majority of the planet's inhabitants. The world's largest country by landmass, Russia, has most of its geographic territory in Asia. And 4 of the world's 5 most populous nations are in Asia: China, India, Indonesia, and Pakistan. But all 4 of these countries have very, very large populations, especially the first 2. If you take a look at this map that's demonstrating country size by population, you'll see just how humongous the population of the Asian continent is, particularly China, India, Indonesia, and Pakistan. Indonesia is the world's largest Muslim country. Pakistan is the 2nd largest Muslim country. India also has a huge Muslim population, huge Hindu population. In China, you have traditional Chinese religions, you have Buddhism. You have a wide variety of cultural and religious context to look at when we're looking at the continent as a whole, which is essentially impossible to do, which is why we're narrowing it down to a specific subsection. Monsoon Asia is the portion of the Asian continent that is hit by the monsoons each year. And this has a number of effects that we're going to go into later, that have affected these cultures that have emerged in this region and have created similarities between them. We're primarily focused in this course on India and China, but we will take a look at those civilizations that emerged kind of in the periphery of those two major poles. India and China being the two ancient civilizations and the most populous civilizations and historically most influential of the region of Monsoon Asia. Before we dive more deeply into the specifics of what we're going to call Monsoon Asia, let's take a look at the broader continent's borders. If you look in the northwest, Asia and Europe share a border at the Ural Mountains, which is contained within the country of Russia. There's European Russia, there's Asian Russia. The European Russia is the portion that is the most populous, but Asian Russia is the most extensive in terms of landmass, lots of natural resources, and of course lots of tundra in Siberia, lots of forest. If we look at the southwestern borders of the Asian continent, we'll find that part of the southwestern border of Asia is in Turkey, which also controls a small amount of territory in the continent of Europe. And if we go down to Israel, we'll see that the Israeli-Egyptian border, the Sinai Peninsula, this is the border of Asia and Africa. And if we look at the Caucasus Mountains, we'll see the border of Europe and Asia, with generally the Caucasian countries, Georgia, Armenia, etc. These are being conceived of as essentially Asian in orientation. In the south, Asia borders the Indian Ocean. And this is historically very significant because one of the two major poles of what we call Monsoon Asia, Indian civilization, was able to expand and to trade via the Indian Ocean. That waterway was tied with the Mediterranean for the most extensively used waterway in the world prior to transatlantic travel. Geographers generally divide Southeast Asia into two sections. The first is mainland Southeast Asia, which consists of Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and then you have what they call insular Southeast Asia or island Southeast Asia. If you see that term insular, that refers to islands in this geographic context. So we're looking at Malaysia, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, etc. And insular Southeast Asia is adjacent to Australia, forming the border, or I guess you could say a watery border of the Asian continent in that region. If we look at the extreme of Northeast Asia, Japan, Korea, and Eastern Siberia, we'll see that we have a border with the Pacific, but also the Bering Strait, which is a waterway dividing Alaska, the USA, from Russia. So this should hopefully demonstrate the sheer size of the entire Asian continent, and why it really is impossible to look at such a diverse, massive entity within the scope of one course.